Hello, my name is Jackie Karol, the voice of Billiards, live here today with Sneaky Pete Mafia TV with Tim Chin, the Dragon, Trickshot Artist Champion.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit how you got started.
Yeah, I started shooting trick shots back in 2004, I guess, when I was in grad school, and had a lot of time on my hands. So I just tried to figure them out, and then I got into them, I guess, professionally or competitively in I think 2006 in Massachusetts. There was another guy near where I was at, and hooked up with him, and he taught me a lot of things. That was Al Ralph, so he's a good guy. In terms of awards and championships, I guess I won a tournament in 2011. It was the Ultimate Trickshot Tours kind of tour championship in Las Vegas, which was a freestyle tournament. I was really proud of that one. And then that got me onto ESPN, where I was able to compete on the World Cup of Trick Shots also in 2011. And then and then I won a tournament just this past November at in London, Ohio. It was the Coughlin Auto Artistic Pool Open.
Wow, congratulations. That's awesome. And what do you mean when you said freestyle as opposed to other events? Like, how does that differ?
So there's different formats in trick shot tournaments, and some of them you have a book or a program of shots that you know ahead of time and you can practice ahead of time. The freestyle tournament that I won was one where you could show up and a player can challenge you with a shot you've never seen before, and so you got 3 attempts to figure it out, and then yeah, best of luck to you. Try that.
Neat. That's very cool. So with your coach essentially, or the person that got you involved, was he a pro artistic pool player or just really into pool? Or
Yeah, no, Al was I mean, he was a good pool player too. But yeah, he was doing it competitively for a little bit. I don't think he ever finished, all that high in some of the tournaments, but you got to start somewhere, and I started there. So
that's great.
he was actually running a qualifier tournament.
Okay.
At his, I don't know if it was like a kind of like a VFA clubhouse thing. It wasn't VFA though. I forget exactly what it was. And so I found out about it, and so I emailed him, and I was like, "Oh, do you need help running the tournament? I can just try to keep score or something because it was my first time." And he's like, "No, I need people to play in the tournament, so you're going to play with me."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he got thrown into it kind of that way.
Awesome. That's cool. So, does anybody in your family play at all? Like, have you got anyone interested in your close circle of friends or family because of your passion about it?
Really, my wife's kind of stayed away from it, and then I have 2 kids now. Uh, they're not into it, but every now and then they'll get a hankering to hit balls around on the pool table. So I'll let them, but they don't really show any natural talent yet, and I haven't ingrained that into them. So
And how old are your kids?
they're 8 and 6.
Okay. Neat.
If they start showing more interest, of course I'd be happy to teach them, but
Yeah.
wait for that to happen. Force it upon them.
What you're naturally interested in, and are they showing interest in any particular sports at all, or are they subjects?
No, no, they're doing more like games, board games, puzzle games. One of my kids is really into Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Likes that fantasy role playing kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
and Magic cards, Magic the Gathering. The other kid's just kind of into Legos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, tell me a little bit about like what was your best experience playing in a national competition, and what was maybe your worst experience?
I'd say my worst experiences were pretty early on when I I'd have a lot higher expectations than I could perform to, and that was for any number of reasons. But then, like as I figured those out, then yeah, I started having much better experiences. So the tournament I ended up winning, that was my first really good tournament.
Uh-huh.
Not not just because I won, but like all the previous tournaments to that, I hadn't really finished higher than in a freestyle tournament. I was probably fifth or sixth, and in other tournaments, I was still out of the top 12 or so. So I don't think it was expected from anybody. And so one story I can give you about that tournament is that tournament was in July, and there was a second tournament in Atlanta in like um, August or September, like close in close proximity to it,
Uh-huh.
and they had to do invites for both tournaments at the same time
Oh.
because there was a limited number of tables and spaces and time they had. And so they only invited me to that one tournament. And so I guess I kind of took that as a slight, and I was like, I deserve to be invited to both tournaments. I just let them want it. And then, and so yeah, afterwards they were like, yeah. So afterwards they invited me to the other tournament. Was like, we'll find a way to sneak you in somehow. But by that time I'd already taken too many days off work and whatever, so I couldn't make it fit my schedule. But yeah, that was an interesting story to take with
Revenge.
that. Yeah,
Just sweet, right?
yeah, yeah. To use their motivation.
Exactly. So have you had any experiences like with opponents where where your opponent's not usually at the table with you when you're doing a trick shot? It's a little bit different, right? Than pool. Like, are they usually right next to you or not really?
They can be, especially in the freestyle tournaments when you have to explain shots and shots you may not be familiar with or might not have seen before,
Right.
just to get a certain ball placement or spacing down, and figure out where you might be able to bend the rules a little bit, or what leeway you have at least in the shot. Um,
Have you
but
like
yeah,
experienced anybody ever like sharking you or talking during your shot at all or being just totally rude or do you have any
no,
like examples of that?
no. I mean, the trick shot world's small, and everyone knows each other, and you know, you're going to be at the same tournaments,
Yeah.
every time it's going to be the same people. So, if you get a reputation as being that kind of person, then either the invitation only tournaments, you're not going to get
Right.
invited, or, you're just going to feel an immense, like, outcast kind of thing
Right.
if you get too many people on your bad side. Um, only one thing that happened is like, I didn't want to shark someone else. It's funny because it was Bruce Bartholet.
Uh-huh.
He runs an APA league. But he's doing this shot, and he sets it up, and then he says there's 25 seconds to do this shot. And it was a chopstick jump shot. So you had to hold two jump cues in one hand and
Okay.
just one-handed jump two balls at a time, and there were three sets of balls. And so he's in the middle of doing the shot, his first attempt, and he has 25 seconds. And then in the middle of it, he starts talking to me. And he's like, oh, by the way, I meant you couldn't also do this or this. And
Oh
I
my
didn't want to talk back to him because he's in the middle of his 25 seconds. And I was like, what do? I need to kind of like acknowledge him that I'm getting this information, but I don't want to like delay his time and like start a conversation. Kind
gosh.
of weird. He ended up missing the shot, not due to me talking to him or anything,
Right.
but yeah, it
I
was
think
just
people seem a little bit more like respectful or behaved in trick shots than they do maybe in pool. Like maybe because there's a lot more, that play pool, so you're gonna get that many more like people that are a little bit more like characters or obnoxious or whatever.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not to say trick shots haven't had their. I mean, you could tell who's friends with whom more tightly than
Yeah.
others, per se. But yeah, there's only been like one or two guys that has really been, I don't know, ostracized in some way, or at least like people have had to take them aside to be like,
Right.
you behave.
Makes it
And,
entertaining. So, who's the all-time best trick shot artist in your opinion?
uh, for different reasons, like Mike Massey really pioneered it with guys like Tom Rossman and Paul Gurney. Um, when Andy Siegel came along, he invented a lot of new shots, new techniques.
Uh-huh.
him and Jamie Gray and Nick Nicolaitis. And then, Florian and Will DeYonker, Steve Markle, and now Theo Mihalis coming along. They're all, picking up right where all those guys left off. So it's just kind of, the leading edge of trick shots has just been going farther and farther out, and you just got to kind of keep up with the pace.
Right, right. So what's your biggest, have you ever had a biggest choke during a trick shot final or anything that you remember? It's always it's reassuring for people that are intermediate or whatever beginner players to hear that the best of them miss sometimes, and it's still.
No, we all miss, and I think there was a tournament just this past February that it was the World Championship in Parkersburg, and I'd made it to the semifinals, and I think I had enough pressure. I mean, I put pressure on myself to kind of win because I won the tournament in November, just a few months before, and this was like the next tournament because there's not a lot of tournaments spread throughout the year, and so yeah, I think I just totally picked the wrong shots.
Oh, because you can decide what they are, right? You can decide.
Yeah, so in the playoffs, it's head to head. So it's kind of like horse, not entirely, but it's head to head. But you're still picking out a book, a program where you know what shots you need to shoot are, and then it was just not picking the right shots that I should have picked, and not going with the strategy that would have at least given me a better chance to win than
right. And you probably wanted to pick different ones than the last tournament, maybe, that you won, or to kind of mix it up, or.
No, it was a little different, but yeah, really in the trick shot tournaments, you gotta play to your strengths more than playing to the other person's weaknesses, and I probably.
Is that the trick shot book? Is that something that's open to like the public? Can anybody see what those are, like if they wanted to try them, at home? And
Yeah. So the official program is approved and put out by the Artistic Pool Division.
okay.
I believe their website is wpa-apd.org, and I think somewhere on there is a shot program. If not, you can email whatever contact information's on there, and they can send it to you.
Oh, cool. And so on your website, which is really cool, you show a bunch of videos and how to do a lot of trick shots. Are some of those the same shots that are in the book when you want to enter? Like, yeah?
Yeah. There's a couple of them on there. I think there's a section where I did an older version of the program, and every few years it gets updated, and sometimes they take shots out, put new shots in because new shots are being invented all the time. So I think I did an old version of the program where I actually did run through pretty much every shot. I haven't probably done it for the most recent version, but yeah, most of the shots. Actually, I probably wouldn't say most of the shots, but there's a lot of shots on there, and most trick shot players are pretty open anyway.
Right.
If you emailed me or somehow they got in contact with me and said I'm having trouble with this particular shot, I'd help you out. I'd give you.
Yeah, well, and you helped me out before. That was very nice, very generous of you to show me all those trick shots with the machine gun shot, and that one's a really fun one. And
yeah.
That was very nice of you.
So that was the first time we had met, really, right? You come down to Las Vegas.
I know, and that was so crazy because our dads knew each other.
Yeah, and we were born in the same town.
I know.
Washington, and our dads, worked together, I guess.
Yeah, at Hanford, yeah. So what's your favorite trick shot that either that you shot or that you invented? Like, what do you have a favorite? Like, do you feel like it's the most challenging or impressive or a crowd?
Yeah, I don't really have a favorite. I really don't have a favorite. When I do shows, I do a lot of setup shots. The first shot I invented, I called Tim's Twister, and so I guess I have to break that out every show. And it was just a cool shot. And I was showing it off at a tournament in 2006 in Minnesota. And Mike Massey came by and was looking at it. He's like, "Whoa, you're gonna do that? Now that takes a lot of spin to do that." Like, yeah.
Cool.
So it's pretty cool when you can show something off to one of the legends of the game and get them excited about it too.
That's neat. And so I'm so excited to see you did a commercial for Mike's Hard Lemonade, and I'm super excited to see that. Tell me about the shots in that.
Yeah, so that was actually that was filmed like last June or July, and then we shot it in October.
That's sweet.
And I didn't really have a lot of input into what the design of the shot was going to be, but yeah, they wanted to do kind of a massé shot, but they wanted to do it on the floor of a room. And instead of doing it on the concrete floor where it would have been kind of easy, they put a bunch of plywood down and covered it with a green felt. And it actually made it very difficult to
You
what?
made it work though on plywood?
Uh, Not quite. There were some camera tricks involved, but
Yeah.
tricks of TV. But yeah, that was
But they know you can do it in the real world, so that's what matters. Yeah.
yeah.
So you were mentioning that there's a mass A cue in addition to a jump cue, because a lot of people aren't even aware that there is such thing as a mass A cue. Is that mostly
I mean,
people that use that? It's just trick shot.
yeah. It's really just a trick shot oriented cue. I would never pull one out playing 8-ball, 9-ball, or anything else. You can mass A with a normal cue. A mass A cue is going to be shorter, and ideally, it's going to be a little more weighted towards the front. And that way, when you're holding it up in the air, you don't have a heavy weight back here that's like pulling you around. It tends to be.
Do you have any with you that you could show us? Like,
Yeah. So this is my mass A cue.
oh wow.
This other one's a jump cue, this brown one.
Okay.
See that I'm holding them. Oops. I'm holding them about the same place on the butt, so you can see that the mass A
Right.
cue is probably 3-4 inches longer.
Okay.
So it is shorter than a normal cue. Most of the weight is going to be put up. The joints about here. Most of the weight's going to be up in here in the handle.
Uh-huh.
And so you can hold it like this right around the balance point, or do it this way. Either technique works. I started a lot doing this method, but I've transitioned to this method more. And in terms of the front end of the cue, I got a brass barrel on this one,
Uh-huh.
and I have a milk dud, I think, on this tip, which is actually weird. It actually helps me with jump massays more than anything. So you can jump the ball and massé the ball at the same time. Shafts tend to be a little thicker, so this is, I'd have to measure it. It's probably a 13.5 or 14 millimeter wide tip, and then the shaft itself is going to be a lot stiffer to drive through the cue ball. So like a phenolic tip or like a G10 like I have on my jump cue is not going to work for massays.
But do you use that more for like extreme massays? Is that why there's a massé cue for the more extreme ones? Is that what?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a shot in the program, like the cue ball starts inside a rack, and you got to jump the cue ball out of the rack, make it go up a certain distance, and come back.
Okay.
That one, you're probably going to want this. I've seen a couple people do it with a regular cue. I've also seen Mike DeShane blow off 2 tips on ESPN trying to do it with cues.
Who makes a massé cue?
Yeah, so this was the first massé cue I actually got. This was Gene Levinest. He ran Crown Cues in Oklahoma. That's CROWN. I know there's another Crown Cues with a K out there. Gene doesn't do it a lot anymore because his shed got taken out in a tornado. This is probably like 10 years ago now, so it's been a while. Dennis Diekman was a big guy back in the day as well. Obviously, he's passed away. And he did a lot of Karen cues. And then Longoni kind of made a commercially available one, small run. And then Mez makes Florian's cue. But right now, Eric Yao had one made by KF Cues in Taiwan. That's still available on eBay usually. That's about 300. That's usually around 300, 350. And if you're a beginner and you want a massé cue that's decent, that's
So they're not cheap. I mean, they're pricey. I mean, they're pricier than a beginner playing cue and a break cue,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. I mean,
Because they're
Stealth,
specialized. Like,
yeah, they're specialized. I mean, Stealth made one for a little while, and I think Action might have
really?
one out there. Yeah, one of the guys on Instagram uses an Action Mass AQ. That was, I don't know how much it costs, but it's
Yeah,
probably on the lower end, probably just 150 bucks.
right.
So if you really wanted to get into it, you could start there. In terms of custom cues right now, you got to go to Abram Diaz. He's in San Diego, in North San Diego, Chula Vista. But he's a trick shot guy, so he knows what should go into him. And he's made a bunch for the newer trick shot guys out there. So
Cool. So just to get to know you more as a person and everything, I'm going to ask you some fun questions.
all right,
So what is your favorite guilty pleasure?
guilty pleasure. I don't know. Jeez, I live so regimented. Uh, I don't know. I probably stay up late and watch YouTube longer than I should when I should be going to sleep and getting ready for work the next day.
What do you
And
usually watch?
then
Just like, is it pool related stuff or just anything or?
no, it's usually not pool. It's uh, anything from like late night. It's like all sorts of comedy stuff, podcasts. A little pool gets thrown in there, but bicycling's been a big hobby of mine. Um, yeah,
So much to watch on there. It's endless, and just
yeah,
watch
no. So it just
sport
keeps
the
going and
sport.
going, and you should go to bed, and you should be doing other stuff, but
Right.
yeah, it doesn't happen.
Right. So what advice would you have for somebody that would that wants to get into trick shots? Like what advice would you have, and maybe also what would you do differently if you're going to start your trick shot career again, redo.
Yeah. I definitely so I know for myself, I probably got into trick shots too early in the sense that I didn't have a lot of solid fundamentals down in terms of like playing regular pool.
Mhm.
And that's, I don't know if it's been a trend, but I think I've definitely seen that more recently with a lot of different players jumping into trick shots because, yeah, they look cool and it's fun when you can do them.
Sure.
But you'll definitely get a lot more consistent if you get your fundamentals down first and getting whether it's the stance bridge, being able to stroke straight, you know, even just getting good draw and follow action on the cue ball. Um, but yeah, get your fundamentals down and work on that, and
And
then get into some of the
what
more.
do you think is the hard like it takes the longest? Like, do you feel like it's jumps and masses like to really master for trick shots?
Uh, well, the thing with trick shots is you probably don't have to be as precise with some of them, which sounds weird because a lot of them you'll just hang a ball in a pocket, which means you've got quite a big range to hit rather than a ball in the middle of the table that you can pocket.
Uh-huh.
Um, like masses are obviously hard for everybody, and you have to practice them to really get them down. And it's just probably the awkwardness of holding a cue up in the air and then it's like waving around. You got to steady it to make sure you're hitting exactly where you want. Um, and then just like the power stroke shots, like um, power draw shots where you essentially have to draw, 2 lengths of the table at least,
Right.
um, in different forms or follow shots, and
What's
then
it?
stroke.
What's a good
What?
advice? What's some good advice for doing power draw for people if they're trying to improve?
Yeah. So for me, I actually tend to focus on letting go of the cue,
Hmm.
which I don't know if that sounds funny or if that's something other people actually do,
Kind
but
of like
like,
throwing it more, like
yeah,
you like maybe like just a couple fingers more and kind of like releasing it with your other
yeah,
finger.
yeah,
That
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'll actually let go of the cue stick basically, and so my hand will slide back on the cue stick from like the grip area all the way to the butt
right,
sometimes.
right.
Um,
That makes
and
sense. You get more
yeah,
velocity and looseness that way and smoothness.
yeah, and if you let it go, ideally it's going straight. And so, I mean, I can tell when I try to force the ball, my arm will come out, and you'll see like the track, like if I dig the Q-tip on the table, you'll see the chalk mark kind of veer left after probably about 4 or 5 inches.
Right, right.
And I don't know if after 4 or 5 inches it matters a whole lot, but you know.
It can't hurt anything to follow through too
Yeah,
much, right?
yeah,
From most shots, yeah.
exactly. So I'd say that's my biggest tip
Right,
for getting action on the cue ball in general, whether it's draw or follow or side spin.
right. Cool. That's good advice. Um, so what talent other than trick shots do people not know that you have?
Um, I was in a college a cappella group.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There were no cuts, so once I was in just by showing up. So I don't know if that's a big deal or not.
That's neat.
Um,
Do you
but
have
yeah,
that on
yeah.
video and anything?
I don't believe there are any existing videos. There might be 1 or 2 on YouTube if you scrounge around, but it was kind of pre-YouTube, so I don't know if anything
You
got.
can do it right now, though.
No,
That's
the acoustics in here
neat.
aren't so
I would love to see it. I would love to.
good.
That's cool.
I was obviously a bass singer, so I was just dropping the bass lines. It's not that interesting when it's all by itself.
And so you have a full-time job, and that is, and tell me just a little bit about what describe that a little, people don't know about.
Yeah, so I have a PhD in material science and engineering. I work in lithium-ion batteries. Right now, I work for a place that does a lot of battery builds for defibrillator batteries and electric bicycles
Okay.
and other types of projects. So yeah,
So you're not dumb at all. You're a smart
I
man.
don't know. Maybe,
Well, they
maybe
always say that science helps, pool, so that there is a link.
yeah, there might be, but I think you can definitely overthink it, I start to think that that's one of my problems.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um,
Maybe you
and
just
so
need to drink more.
yeah, maybe. And so if I go more, yeah, I don't know. I feel like definitely when I'm like playing 8-ball or 9-ball, if I just go more on like intuition and feel, I
Mhm,
do it. There's definitely some shots where I need to do that more than others, but that helps me out.
mhm,
Oh, in terms of a story, I was in grad school at MIT, getting my PhD.
uh-huh,
I moved out of my. Uh, I was in a dorm there the first year I was there, and then I moved out, but I didn't have a pool table at my new place,
uh-huh.
so I needed to go to the dorm to play for free because I was too cheap to go to a pool hall and jack up their clock. Um,
Right.
and so, but I couldn't check out the pool equipment. The pool equipment was held at the front desk. I couldn't check it out because I didn't live at the dorm anymore. So I would have to bike like probably a little over a mile,
Uh-huh.
and I have to carry a backpack full of a full set of pool balls, whatever camera equipment I wanted to carry, if I wanted to carry camera equipment. I think definitely at some point, I had like a 4x8 case that was fully loaded. You know how heavy those get. And yeah, I was on my bike with all that stuff, biking in the snow, just to get to a pool table to practice.
That's awesome.
So you got to take
Hardcore.
some dedication too.
That's awesome. So what would you, what would you like love for there to happen in pool? Like, what would you like to see as far as, tournaments or promoters, or, any, dreams you would have for trick shot tournaments in the future, or advice on what to do, what not to do, um,
Yeah, I
what you
mean,
want to continue.
yeah, trick shot tournaments are so sparse anyway. If you have 2 or 3 a year, you're probably lucky.
Hmm.
Um, like last year, I don't even remember how many there were last year. There might have only been 2. So getting more of those would be nice.
When was the last world championship? Was there
That was,
one last year?
yeah, that was in February of 2020, which was labeled as the 2019 World Championships because there wasn't a World Championships in 2019.
Okay.
And historically, it had actually done that pretty early. like back in the early 2000s, like it was like offset by a year. Um, but yeah, like there was a string of years when we were at the Super Billiards Expo, and so that was always nice because you have a bunch of pool players there, and the ones that are interested come over and they watch, and you know they love it. Um, so yeah, just getting into more of these tournaments where there's going to be a lot of pool players anyway, whether it's like state championships or regional championship, where you know they're at a convention center or a hotel or something where tables are getting trucked in anyway. You set up another 2 or 3 tables for trick shots to provide entertainment throughout the event. You know, I think that would
Sure.
be a really good entry point uh, for you know getting trick shots out there and getting people interested.
Hopefully we will see more of that soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, and it was great to talk with you and get to know you better. And is there anything else that you would like to say, or say hi to anyone?
Uh, yeah, nothing in particular. I mean, if I say hi to someone, I'm sure I'm going to leave somewhere else.
Safe side, right?
Yeah,
Awesome.
no,
Well,
but like, no, obviously follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I post in all sorts of Facebook groups, so you probably see my stuff there. If you have questions on any shots, let me know. Happy to help out. I do tutorials on my website. I haven't done any lately, but
what's
yeah, if
the
anyone,
website for people to
trickshottim.com. And
trickshot.com?
yeah, and Trickshot Tim is my username on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. So yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. Happy to show you how I shoot shots. And if you have any ideas of shots that you want me to shoot, you can send them along too. And you know, happy to give you a shout out on my social media for the ideas.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate it. And Sneaky Pete Mafia appreciates you being on. Have a great rest of your night. And thank you, Sneaky Pete Mafia TV viewers. My name is Jackie Karol, the voice of Billiards. See you next time.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.